Hello, all you lovely HSPs, going live again, answering some questions. If you're here, pop on and say hi and click like and let me know where you guys are from. So I am going to answer a couple of questions that came to me, one from Facebook and one from my Instagram. So Elizabeth from Facebook asked, I learned about HSP last year. Should I let my primary physician know about my suspicions that I am an HSP, or do I need a professional diagnosis? Who should know? Okay, that's a great question, Elizabeth. And I'm really glad that you found out about your trait, because life just changes once we find out about our trait. Should you let your doctor know? Yes, you should let your doctor know. You don't need a professional diagnosis because it is not a disorder. So it is not professionally diagnosed like a disorder would be. But there are ways to know if you are an HSP, and there's a lot that you do want to learn about the trait to understand yourself better. So I recommend, if you haven't already, to take the 27 question self-test, because that's going to be really helpful to find out if you are. And I am actually a 27 out of 27. I answered true to all the questions, so I'm way up on that scale. And I know a lot of us in the high 20 range really do have a lot of challenges. And there are particular things that you can do to train your brain that make it better, that make these challenges just a lot better. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I hadn't have reduced these challenges for myself. So, and you asked who should know. You should definitely tell your doctors, dentists, any kind of medical team, as well as any mental health professionals that you work with, like a therapist. All of them should know about this trait, and there's so much stuff on my website about it. My whole website is dedicated to providing you guys with information about the trait. My books talk about it. I actually got a new doctor recently and handed her my book, and was happy to see that she was interested in learning about the trait. Remember, these are at least 1 out of 5 of their patients are going to be an HSP. So you're actually helping all the HSPs that come after you by letting them know. And it is really helpful for them to understand about the trait, because there's actual brain differences. They might make you more susceptible to anxiety, as an example. You're also going to be more sensitive to medications, most likely. So I recommend that you talk to your doctors about starting on the lowest doses of possible of medicine, as well as seeing if there's an alternative, like a holistic alternative, instead of the medication, because sometimes we have a hard time with the side effects going on in medication as well as going off. So you want to really taper it incredibly slowly if you're going to do that, and that's something you need to talk to your doctor about. So I hope that that is helpful for you. So recommend you take the self-test, learn all you can about the trait. Check out my website. My new book is on the website empoweredhsp.com. And I have a resources page for HSPs too. That's just simply hspresources.com. So those I would recommend that you check those out and share pieces with your providers. So I hope that that's helpful. So I'll say a quick hi. Hi, Lee. Thanks for popping on, and Anne. Lee, yes, you're sensitive to medication. That's really common. So am I. Most of us as HSPs, especially the high numbered ones up high, we are sensitive to medications. And oftentimes holistic options tend to be best for us whenever possible. So I recommend that you talk to your doctor, and you get a doctor that is open to learning about this and wanting to work with you. And if you're finding that whoever you're working with is not open to learning about this trait, find somebody that is. They're working for you, and you want to find somebody that wants to know you and your system, and it's important to understand these brain differences. And Anne, you said, where can I find the 27 questions? You can actually find that. I have a link to that on my HSP resources page. So that's hspresources.com. I invite you to go explore the multiple pages that I have. on that resources page for you. It's also on Elaine Aron's website because she is the one who created the test. She's the pioneer of really researching this trait. Where are you guys all from? So pop on and say hi. Click like if you're here. I love hearing from you guys. I had posted something earlier about questions, which is why I am answering some of them right now. So pop on and say hi and click like if you're here and let me know who you're from. So I'm going to go to the next question. And feel free to put some questions in the comments right now if you want, and I'll see if I can answer any of them. So from Instagram, Nitro Jade, she asked, is it possible the HSPs need medications in slightly lesser dosages as they respond to medications more strongly than non-HSPs? So yes, just like I was saying, we definitely can respond stronger to medications, and I often recommend that you ask for the lowest dosage, and sometimes you can even cut the lowest dosage in half if the doctor approves it. That's something that I've actually done because medication can impact my sensitive system so much. And there's times when, like, if you have an option to take a medication as needed rather than daily, sometimes that's a better option for HSPs, because we don't have to deal with as many of the side effects for going off of a medication. But again, I always recommend seeing if there's an alternative that's more holistic and natural, if possible. And in either way, it's important for your doctor to understand that your system. And there are so many things. I mean, I cannot tell you how many of my clients and students have actually gone off of all their medications, especially anxiety medications, because there's so much that you can do brain training wise to make this trait, to reduce the challenges of this trait. That's something that I had to do because I used to have high anxiety, as do many HSPs in the high number of, in the 20 somethings up and high. We happen to have even more challenges from what I've observed, and we have to train our brain. So I hope you'll come join the group of us that are what I call brain, it's brain training. And that's what it is, because you do have differences in your brain that make you more susceptible to some of the things like anxiety and depression. Yes, Suzanne, hi. You work in the caring profession and struggle not to absorb everyone's emotions. It's exhausting. Any tips to cope? Yes, it is very exhausting if you're in a helping profession. You do have to learn how to keep some distance between you and some of the people that you might be helping. And there's ways to do that. For one thing, it's important to understand why we have that. We have a more activated brain mirror neuron system, which means that you're literally firing some of the same neurons as somebody that you're observing. So if somebody's in pain or wounded emotionally, you are often picking up on those, and it's important. You've got to learn how to do your self-care and how to keep some of the a little bit of distance between what you're absorbing. There are actual meditations you can do where you can even visualize that you're kind of wrapped in around a bubble and you're protected inside of this bubble, so that you're helping somebody, but you're inside of it, protected, not absorbing everything. You can imagine a shield, a ray of light, things like that. These are things that you actually have to build up over time to get good at. But most important of all, that really helps is that you stay grounded and centered yourself. If you're in the helping profession, or a caretaker of any kind, even a parent, that's something that we have to do for ourselves. Because if you're living on the edge of falling off into a meltdown, which is how I used to live, and a lot of HSPs live that way, we are too close to activating that limbic system and having the meltdown, and the absorption is too strong, so that we're actually in too much pain if we're experiencing that. So there's things that we have to do. If you really are doing the right kind of self-care, and I recommend 2 hours alone time a day, if possible. If it's not possible, I recommend working towards a way to make it possible in some kind of creative form, because you need time for brain processing, restoration, and rest. And I talk about this in my book, in my books and my course, for example, that the best ways for self-care for a highly sensitive person Oh, good. We have some more people popping on here saying where you're from. Hi, Renee. You're from Washington State. Cheryl, you're reading my Empowered book and loving it. So validating. Yay! I'm so happy to hear we've got a reader on here of one of my books. That makes me feel so happy, and I've been loving hearing from you guys, and I'm really happy that Cheryl, you're feeling validated. I've heard that a lot from HSPs reading the book, and I love that so much. That just warms my heart, because that's what I want you to feel. As soon as we start to feel validated for how we're feeling, and normalize it as well, it's so incredibly important to feeling a sense of self-acceptance and understanding of who we are. And I have gotten such beautiful comments from those of you reading the book, and I love hearing them. Please continue to post them in the comments on my social media pages. You can email me directly, contact me from my website. I love hearing from you guys, and I've put some of them up on the book page as well, so that you can read some of the ways that some of you are feeling empowered. So I'm glad that you talked about that, Cheryl. Thank you for mentioning that. So where else are some of you guys from? We've got, I love that you're here. Click like if you're listening. But I just wanted to pop on and answer a couple of those questions. And I will be continuing to answer some of your questions. It's part of my mission that I help you guys thrive. We really need you in the world. We need you thriving and empowered. That's why my book is called The Empowered Highly Sensitive Person. And it's really about how do you really thrive in an empowered way as a sensitive person in today's chaos, in today's chaotic world, as a sensitive person. And there's a way to do that, and I want that for you. Me, as a 27 out of 27 on that self-test, I am an example of somebody that can thrive with the right techniques and tools, and that's how everything's got developed. My course got developed by learning about what works for the HSP brain, which is different than 80% of the population. You are different than 80% of the population, and that's a good thing. We don't want to change and try to be like the 80%. We need you in the world. It's why this trait exists in the first place. It evolved as a survival strategy of the population, and we need you. The way that you are, your empathy, your compassion, your way of being in the world, how kind you are. This is part of the trait. And think about all the wonderful, creative artists of the world, musicians, artists. Many of them are HSPs, and they bring such beauty into the world. You bring such beauty into the world. So I hope you know that about yourself. And if you're struggling, there are so many resources for you that make it better. Everything on check out my resources page, hspresources.com. My course is hspcourse.com, and my blog is hspblog.com. So I hope you guys will check out some of those. And oh, we've got lots more questions. I hadn't scrolled up. There we go. Okay, I'll look at some more of your. Okay, we've got somebody Vicky's from Sydney. Cheryl, you're in San Jose. You're near me. I am actually in Pleasanton, which is towards San Francisco. Vicky, you have the book, and we'll start reading soon. Oh, fantastic. I cannot wait to hear from you, Vicky. I will love to hear from you when you start reading the book. I think your life's going to change and transform. Deb, you're from Sydney, Australia. Awesome. And Vicky, you are too. Okay. And Vicky, you're at 25. Yep, you're up there. So anybody that I've seen really above a 23, we seem to have a pretty large set of challenges. But the really amazing thing about the brain is it can be trained. I mean, we can literally have certain parts activated intentionally that make us feel more calm and centered and present and less reactive. So it's so important to do that. Heather, asks, how do you feel about HSS, HSP? I relate to this more than pure HSP. I'm actually an HSS too, as well as an HSP. That, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's high sensation seeking. And Heather, did you see my blog that just went out? Is actually went out on Friday. It was talking about the high sensation seeking HSP, and there's a self-test that you can do for that as well. And yes, it's kind of like living with like a foot on the brake and the gas at the same time. You want to have new experiences, but you also have to take care of your sensitivity, and that's important to understand. And you have to feed the HSS part of you, that high sensation seeking part, or else that little flame inside of you can go out a bit. But you also have to take care of the HSP sensitive needs in doing that. So I talk about some of that in my book as well. High sensation seeking is talked about in my new book as well. If you have that, how many of you guys have my new book right now? I'd love to hear from you, and as well as the brain training program. And it's just been so wonderful to share with the course. I actually work with you for 8 weeks, and together we work on creating new brain neural sprouts so that we can become less reactive and more reflective. We learn how to, it's almost like having a personal trainer for your brain. So you get to activate centers of your brain that are going to be more calming, and deactivate centers that are causing a lot of the stress and anxiety. So I love the transformations in that class. It is, when I look back on my life, watching your transformations is going to be something that is one of the highlights of my life, because I love getting more HSPs empowered into the world. So it's incredibly important to me to see that, because I really believe that we need you in the world. We need you strong and empowered and brain trained, because then you get to access all the amazing positives with this trait. And if there's anything that's holding you back in life, what's stopping you from doing it? If you're worth the investment, and imagine all the people that are going to be impacted in a positive way if you are living in your highest self. Just imagine that for a second. It's worth it. In these tools that you create, whether it's through my books or course or all the resources that I provide, they change you, they transform you, and you get to live life in the way that you're meant to live it, to your highest self. So read some more of your comments here. I love it. So, click on like, tell me where you're from. It's really fun to connect with you guys. Let me see what else you guys have been saying. We've got Anita and Deb and Heather. Okay, you found it. Excellent. Yeah, you posted the blog from High Sensation Seeking. And I recommend you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to my hspblog.com. Subscribe to the blog. You're going to get so much good stuff coming in your inbox every week. And I'm really committed to giving you guys the tools and resources that you need to live your best. So anyway, I guess that was good for now. What have we been on? About 18 minutes. And I love all your comments, and love to hear where you guys are from, and that you're connecting. And I love our page together. And I just think that it's such a special place that we share our tribe of HSPs that we're sharing. So thank you for being here, guys. LA, Andreas from LA. You joke that meds have a longer half-life in me. Yeah, we experience things very differently than the 80%. And it is really important that you become your own advocate about that. That's something, I have a whole section in my new book, The Empowered Highly Sensitive Person, about being an advocate for your needs. And we do have to be an advocate, because who else is going to do it? And there's a lot of people in the medical and mental health field that still don't know about this trait. And even though it's been talked about, it's been discussed, we have scientific research backing it, it exists, and you are different than the 80%. And that is a good thing. I know many of us think it's not a good thing, but it is a good thing. And it is my mission to get you to believe it's a good thing. Yes, Suzanne, you're going to sign up for the blog now. Yay, I love that. I love sending out this blog every week. I write it from my heart every week. And it is something that is meant to support you. It's something I wish I had before I understood about my trait. And I use items in my own world, and I share some of that with you about what works. I talk about research. I talk about brain training. I talk about the ways to increase your positives and reduce those challenges. So sign up for it, definitely. I'd love to send that off to you guys. And Deb says, your info is amazing. Oh, thanks, Deb. That's so sweet. Gosh, see, this is what I mean about HSPs. You guys are so sweet and kind and loving, and you're really some of the best, most compassionate people in the world. And I hope you know that. I feel that from you guys, and I hope you feel that from me, that my intentions are really about supporting you to your highest level, because we need you in the world. You're welcome, Deb. Heather talked about trying antidepressants and you couldn't take them. They made you so ill. Yeah, HSPs can be, we can be more susceptible to depression and anxiety because of some of our brain differences. But I have actually found that the majority of the HSPs that I've worked with in my course, my clients actually were able to feel better without medications. And I believe that that's possible for the majority. I think that there are examples where medications may be needed, but I think that for the majority, there are brain training things you can do that make this so much better, that you don't have to suffer anymore and so much. I used to suffer a lot, so I get it. And I think that's why I feel so passionate about helping you guys, that you don't have to suffer. There's things that you can do. I've created all these techniques that work, and I see, thousands of HSPs across the globe have been using these techniques, and they're getting better, and they're reducing those challenges and reducing anxiety, reducing depression, getting to the point where you feel really good and your best self. It just can't stress that enough, that these tools are working for people. And I hope that you go out there and you start trying them, because they do work. Oh, you're welcome, Vicki. Thank you so much. Yes, Andrea saying even Advil or Benadryl lingers. Oh yeah, absolutely. I cannot take Benadryl for sure. That's something, my eyes get all dilated, and yeah, we are very sensitive to meds. I joke around that someday I hope that we can walk into like a drugstore and a pharmacy, and there's like a whole section of stuff for HSPs. So if we got doctors listening out there, scientists, that's my mission, is that sometime we get to this point where there's people out there advocating for you as a sensitive person. And who's going to do that? Other sensitive people. So my mission about getting people empowered, about HSPs being empowered, is that you're going to go out there, you're going to create medications that are for the sensitive. You're going to create things that work for the sensitive system, whether it's in research, science, the medical community, education. I could go on. And those of you that have been following me for a while, you know how passionate I am about this stuff. So Debbie say, I constantly tell them and refer them to Aaron's work, but some people can't wrap their heads around it. Also, I struggle with having healthier ways to describe it. I understand that. The sensitivity used to be something that I felt like I needed to hide from people, because I saw it as a weakness initially, before I understood about the amazing things that come with being a sensitive person. And then as you really learn more about the trait yourself, you're going to have a harder time sharing it. And I have podcasts that talk about it. I have articles that talk about it. I have blogs that talk about it. So if you check out my hspresources.com page, and you really read everything on there, on all these multiple pages, you're going to feel like you can explain it, and you're going to feel more self-acceptance yourself to explain it. And I talk about specific ways to explain it to people as well. And it gets easier. So yes, Deb says your course sounds really effective. Yeah, I mean it's wonderful. Yeah, we spent 8 weeks together, and it's for the people that reach a point where you just feel like, you know what, I can't do it this way anymore. I can't be this challenged in life. Or maybe there's something that you want to accomplish, that you want to get better for, whether it's a career or family or a relationship. If there's something that's blocking you from living to your highest level, this class is definitely going to change that for you. And you can read the reviews that have other HSPs have taken the class, and they are just so special to me. My graduates, I call them, we have a graduate page that we join afterwards too, that we get to stay connected afterwards as well. And then you get to be in this group with people who have graduated from the course, and they're just, oh, I love them. I love them so much. Yeah, Suzanne says, I'm learning to do everything I want to do, but in a way that is more manageable, just trying different ways to balance my needs and with others, but not everyone understands. Yeah, everybody's not going to understand. That is very true. And our goal isn't to get everybody to understand. Our goal is that we understand and that we do what's right for us. And the more time you spend with me, whether it's in these live videos, the podcast, my website, the more time you spend with me, I believe that you're going to feel you found your tribe. And because I hear that all the time too, when we talk about that we found the tribe, we found a tribe. And I think you're all so important, and I love how kind you are to each other. The HSP Facebook page that we have, it's so incredible, and I love how you guys interact with each other. And let's see, we've got, homeopathic. Yes, I actually got a homeopathic remedy for sinuses, a sinus issue recently, rather than going on an antibiotic. And it worked. And it was amazing. And actually, my doctor is the one who told me about it. So you can find doctors out there who are open to supporting your sensitive system, for sure. Yeah, you struggle. Vicky says she struggles to find a talk therapist who gets me. Absolutely. I understand that too. I had gone through so many therapists when I was doing my work on myself, and to find one that got me. There is a page on Elaine Aron's site, and it's also on my resources page, that lists HSP knowledgeable therapists. I highly recommend you work with an HSP knowledgeable therapist. They need to know about this trait to understand you. And I've done so many consultations with therapists who have just been blown away by learning about this trait and completely understanding themselves. I've done workshops for therapists, and they always come back to me afterwards, and they say, like, I can't believe how much this helped me to understand my clients. So your therapist absolutely has to understand this trait. And there are therapists out there who are HSPs themselves. I recommend working with an HSP therapist if you are an HSP yourself. And you can find that on my hspresources.com page as well, linked to finding an HSP knowledgeable therapist. You're welcome. Lily Annette, did I say that right? That's a beautiful name. Yeah, Vicky says, very seldom find a doctor. That's true. I actually, that understands the trait. I've had to educate most of the doctors. Oh, I love seeing all these hearts. How beautiful you guys are. Yes, you oftentimes have to educate your doctor about it, but that's doable. Like I had said earlier, I handed the doctor my book, and she was open to learning about the trait, and she was actually grateful. I mean, that's the kind of doctor you want to work with. There's at least 1 out of 5 of their patients are going to be an HSP, so you're not the only one. There's 1.4 billion of us out there. So there are a lot of us who are going to benefit from you talking to your doctor about this trait. Let me look at some more we've got here. Deb says, it was a therapist who informed me about HSPs and Elaine Aron's work, and then you found me on Facebook, and you are so grounded. I am fortunate with my therapist. Oh, that's great. I'm so glad that you found one. Definitely. Susan says, I'm educating my therapist about HSP. Go figure, but we are working together much better. She is reading your brain training book I gave her. Oh, excellent. I think that's a great idea. Give your therapist both of my books, my main books, the brain training for the highly sensitive person book, as well as the empowered highly sensitive person book. I think both of those books would be really beneficial for your doctor to have and your therapist to have. So I'm glad to hear you're doing that. That's great, Susan. I think that's going to help her a lot. And I've had so many therapists get back to me about that has really helped them. Andrea says, I just recently discovered what an HSP is. For years, I've been advocating for kids in school to get rid of the shame and old school practices that affect all kids, but most especially sensitive kids or kids with trauma. So totally a social justice movement for me. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad we got you out there doing that because we need that. And I feel the same way. I feel this is a movement and that we take back the word sensitive, that we recognize how incredible our needs, how incredible we are as a group of people of the population. That and I love to hear that we've got people out there, spreading the word, spreading the information in the education system. So incredibly important. I could say so many things about that too. I'm going to have to do a whole video just on what we can do to support kids in education, all of us in education, actually. I'd love to see this message about this trait get put into the education system, into psychology programs, into medical schools. That is my goal. So if any of you guys have ideas about how to do that, contact me and we'll work together and get this done so that more people know about this. Robin, I haven't found that doctors care or have any idea what that means. And yes, I'm more sensitive to medications and often have an adverse effect. Yes, if I think it's important to come from a place of you're talking to your doctors. And I actually have a whole video about this, about how to talk to your doctor, as well as some articles on my hspresources.com page. So that can also give you information, but come from a place of education. You don't want to come from a place of like, oh, I'm telling you something bad about myself. I mean, this is really an important trait to understand. So you're educating them. Come from a place that you are giving them information that they need, and that's going to help them help you, and it's going to help them help other HSPs as well. So if you come from an energetic space like that, and again, that doctor works for you, that therapist works for you. And if they are not listening to your needs and they don't want to learn about this, move on to a different one, because there are some that do. There are some that do, and you want to find them. I hope someday I even have a page of doctors that are familiar with this trait. So I have lots of big goals for us as HSPs. So Vicky says, regarding therapists, mind shamed me when I mentioned her bangles jangling, said no one else ever mentioned them. Took so much courage to ask her to remove them. Hypersensitive to noises can be very distressing ideas. I am very sorry to hear you got shamed by your therapist about that. Wow, that's very disappointing to hear that a therapist would do that. I think it's incredibly important to be able to say what you need in that session. And I could imagine that jangling, that sound could be bothersome. I used to, when I was an intern, I had to work in a like an agency, and there's a ticking clock in the room. And I was the only therapist that had to remove that clock. But I did, because I couldn't stand it. It was very distracting. So yes, you are going to have different sets of needs than 80%, but your needs are actually going to be similar to the 20% of us. So we have two choices when we look at this lens. We can look at the lens of, I am going to look at all the challenges only and feel like nobody understands me because I'm different than the 80%. Or I look at it with the lens of, I am different than the 80%, but I'm similar to the 20%. And my needs are very important. And if you don't want to work with a therapist that's shaming you. You want to work with a therapist who really is committed to understanding you and who you are and why you are the way you are. So I hope you get to find that. Yes, Daniela says you're more sensitive to meds. Definitely. I know so many of us are. And Andrea says you had a therapist doing the training that I mentioned, that mentioned me. So you started following me. Oh, that's great. You started following me for as an HSP and you love what I do. Thank you. That's very sweet. I love hearing from you guys and I appreciate when you talk about things that I've done that have helped and supported you. That really warms my heart. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Vicky says social justice, so much bullying in schools. Yeah, we need to protect the sensitive and give them what they need to thrive. Absolutely. Okay, Vicky agrees to my ticking clock comment. Yes. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Even if you're watching the replay afterwards, click like, love, let me know where you're from, what you thought of it. I hope it was helpful to you all. Um, did you guys find this helpful? So let me know. Click like, love, make a comment if you found this helpful. I love spending time with you guys. And yes, good. Vicky says you're in the process to change your therapist. Good. Yeah, there's some wonderful therapists out there. That want to support you. And there's a bunch of HSP therapists out there that are great too. So you can check out my hspresources.com page that will give you a link to HSP knowledgeable therapists. And just check out all the information that I have there. So thanks for being here with me. And thanks. It's so fun to hear from you guys if you're reading my books or you're in my course. I love hearing from you guys. If you want to work with me directly in the 8-week program, I will love to talk with you about that. If you have any questions, you can ask me about that. And it just gets so much better. And let's be here for each other, okay? Great. I'm glad you found this helpful, guys. You're so wonderful. Yeah, Deb, you talked about a bit negatively focused amygdala hypervigilance. I've been working on it, but feel I hit a wall. So your retraining group sounds good. Yeah, I definitely think that we have a more activated amygdala, so that's going to create that fight, flight, freeze response a lot. And I know for myself, I was having that activated almost every day before I trained my brain. And most of the HSPs I worked with, the same thing. So yes, there's things that you can do and that make it better. And we need you. We need you in the world. I want you out there thriving to your highest potential. So read through all the pages on my website, all the resources. They're there for you. They're created for you. Sign up for the blog, hspblog.com, so you can get the weekly tidbits of tips and support for you guys. So thanks for being here. Love spending time with you guys. Thank you for the loves and the likes. You guys are all just so special. And I hope that you're feeling that more and more the more time we spend together. I hope you're feeling that more and more. So take really good care of yourselves. Okay, your HSP selves. We need you out there thriving and empowered in the world. Until next time. I will see you guys soon, okay? Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.